Watch me as I prep this image file I got from the web into a laser ready file using the Lightburn software. But first, welcome to my channel. My name is Mary. On this channel I share my work process where I work with different media. I do love working across different mediums. I do some woodworking, laser cutting acrylic, laser cutting wood, resin art, and even dabbling into some macrame. I share all of this on the channel and showing my fails and improvisations and successes. I'll also be sharing tips and hacks, DIY methods I learned across along the way. So if this sounds like something you enjoy watching, kindly like my videos and subscribe for more. So let's get right into it. The first thing is to bring in my image from the folder where it's been stored on the computer. So once the image is in, I start by tracing out my image on Lightburn. Lightburn has a function that does that just at the tap of a button. You right click and you're able to trace out your image. So usually the tracing it gives you is usually rough around the edges and you need to refine this. So that's what I'm doing now. So here's my artwork already traced out. So it's common with most graphics when you get them into drafting softwares like this. The lines are usually made up of nodes. They're called nodes, and it's the same with Lightburn. So this is what I usually manipulate to edit my traced artwork, to edit it into what I want. Now I already have a vision for this piece. I chose this image deliberately for its three-dimensional look. It's presents like an open seashell, like an oyster seashell that has been flipped open. So I imagine cutting that out. If I keep the contours and the contouring, I laser cut the contouring just right, it should give that look, to that impression. Even though I will be cutting it on 2D, but it would still give, yes, it will still give that 3D look. So that's what I'm proceeding to do here. I'm cleaning up the nodes, all the jagged edges you can see. I'm deleting the nodes, the node points on all of those, so that I have clean lines all around. So what you cannot see is the shortcut button I'm using to do that. For Lightburn, that is the key, letter D key on the keyboard. So you just highlight the node you have, you highlight the node you want to delete and tap on D and it deletes that node. But keep in mind you have to have the node or nodes highlighted. So once I have that done, I plan to these lines I'm editing, I plan to have them as cut through effects. So you'll see what would come out of it. I have another plan to have them take resin inserts. Anyway, so now I want all the lines crisp and clean and all extra nodes, the jagged edges, all gone. So the circle in the middle is to be the center point of the piece, and then the lines come in. And for laser cut projects, you want to have all the pieces and areas you want to cut, you want to have them in a closed loop, and then the unifying outline to hold everything together, so that once your cut through pieces drop off, you have a solid piece that is still sturdy. So Lightburn is great with that, where I can, or maybe if you've been exposed to design before, you can visualize how some things want to come out, and you can also use some of the functions here, shading functions. You see that at the end of this video, so to show the contrast and be sure you have your layers set right. I mean the outline, the body of the art piece, and then what will be cut through. You want to have that clearly defined so that you don't put your file in and then cut your piece or send it where it's going to be cut and then it comes out different than you imagined. So I continue to adjust and manipulate the notes to have them just right. I want the edges rounded out. I want evenness along the lines. I want the form to be as symmetrical as possible. So whatever piece you are trying to edit to, you do the same for that. So once I have all my notes edited as I want, I continue to the lower part. So as I said earlier, the intention is to have as much of the original contouring in the original image that gave us the impression of an oyster opened up. I want to retain as much of that as possible so that I still have the 3D effect. So that's why, but remember, I'm laser cutting this piece, so I need to refine and decide on what would be cut through and what would be the solid piece. So that's what I'm doing for the bottom part. Do is I manually separate and open the nodes and then rejoin the nodes to make the form or the shape, the shape that I want. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I see those what do I call them now, the slashes at the base of the oyster that's taking the area where the oyster shell, the second flip end of the oyster shell, is sitting down. I see the slashes on it and they give the right effect. If I can cut that just right, that's what's making it look like, giving the 3D effect. Like you're having an oyster shell sitting and it's flipped open. So I need to keep that if I'm to maintain the illusion. So those slashes now, though, they are not all connected right, they are not in a closed loop, and I want to cut them out in a closed loop. So there I've opened up the nodes to where they've been previously joined, and instead I'm connecting it to the slashes beneath it so that it makes a continuous loop of the downward slash and then the one that goes over. So it becomes a continuous piece, and then by the time I run it through the laser and cut that through, it takes the form of a boomerang here. That shape I'm trying to get is a boomerang shape. So I'm sketching it, drafting it right on Lightburn. So an alternative might have been to bring in a form similar to that, a shape similar to that, and just place that. So but since I'm trying to work with what is there so that it retains the illusion of the original image as closely as possible, as much as possible, I'll just go ahead and edit this. I previously made a video on this, tried to make it a tutorial of sort, one of my very first video, I believe, but it wasn't as clear as this. So I was showing how I open nodes and close them back up. So the function for this is to use the B key on the keyboard. So you select the node you want to open, break apart, and then the term is break apart. So that's the function, and then you type B for break apart. So once that node opens up, you go ahead to open the second shape you want to reconnect it to with the same function, break apart. So once you highlight your node and tap break apart, it breaks open. So you just need to manipulate it and pull the two nodes you intend to rejoin. And once that is done, once they come in close proximity to themselves, they snap close. So the snap function will take care of most of the time that would happen. So sometimes if I don't have the function responding as I do, sometimes I go ahead to create the shape all over again. So but more often than not, once you pull the nodes very close together, it will snapshot and create and turn into a continuous loop. So you do that for both ends. You see that for that shape, I just did that for both ends, and now it could fill up. It became a closed loop. That's why the shaded function got activated. I continued to do that for both sides, and I was having a little bit of trouble getting it done for the bigger one, but I proceeded to copy and paste and then mirrored there's a very similar form and copied and pasted them, and then mirrored it to either side. So now I have my form, I have my file ready. So I go ahead to do a little bit of more I do some more cleanup, just regularly make the lines and the shapes as regular as I want it. The bulges, I'm trying to straighten them out, and then any irregularity I see at this moment, I clean it up, and voila, my file is ready to cut. So what I was saying, all that's left to do is to connect to the laser, put in my speed and power setting, confirm the laser placement on the material I'm choosing to cut this. I think I'll go with an acrylic piece, and yes, the file is ready. You can go ahead to cut. So I'm confirming how my piece is looking now to be sure I have everything connected. All the shaded portions shaded in that bright in that red color, I can see that it's a closed loop and it's all connected, because as soon as I change it to a field form, it's filled right up, and everything connects to what is very evident and clear. So that's the check. That's what I used to do, my final check, to be sure I have the parts connected right. I ensure to put the outline and the cut pieces, the parts to be etched on different layers. That's a setting on Lightburn, if you are at all familiar with Lightburn software. And that's what ensures that you can attribute different speed settings, different power settings to different layers, so that you have the one that's to be cut, what should be etched gets etched, and your piece comes out just right. So once again, thank you so much for watching. If you've stuck with me to this point and watched to the end of the video, I really appreciate you. I'll be grateful if you can like and comment and leave a comment. Hit like if you learned a thing or two, and you can drop your comments if you have suggestions and ideas for what you think I should work on